Introducing Fellou. So Fellou is an interesting case study. They're not the first, but they are one of the first to be commercially available in terms of agentic browsers. If you're unfamiliar with agentic browsers, just to give you a quick little short history lesson, as of last year, actually a year and some change ago, browser use got an amazing funding seed and of course began to support all of these incredible companies. I got to see them from a very young, it was like a year and a half ago, where they were, very much under-talked about, underspoken about, all the techie, like nerd, the people that were in it that were like trying to use AI within the browser, outside of vibe coding, outside of automation, but using AI to operate a computer on your behalf is a real art, right? And I just want to make that very clear, especially when it comes to getting attention to it, because you'll notice this surge in digital employee. Like that's the marketing kind of approach. Anything truly, like Lindy.ai is another one of these examples, is pretty much meeting your first AI employee, right? And all it is a AI agent that operates with the browser and runs autonomously. Whether or not it gives you visibility depends on what it's doing. Airtop.ai, $350 million funded company, they pride themselves in their ability to scrape TikTok and YouTube and like these typically hard companies to get information from. Typically if you're into scraping and market research, Appify was the place that you go to, especially when it comes to web scraping and marketplace, right? So I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, but I just want to kind of lay the landscape. This is something that's been around for a while. What's different? Something called Echo. So Echo is essentially, as I kind of hinted to before, a layer of machine learning that watches and evaluates the computer use, right? So before, you just have AI that can use the computer, which is great. But we only have a certain amount of visibility. That's a real problem, right? So I think they actually had a good comparison graph here. Right? You're unable to actually intervene. You may not have the most efficiency in development because of that. One of the benefits though, is it was open source. So a lot of great people that, I can name endlessly contributed to what you're about to see here. I want to keep a note. And this is something, again, that I kind of hinted towards in terms of displacement. But there's a famous, I'm going to reference, this is going to show the last piece of history from this little section, but where my inspiration came from to continue this. So if you're unfamiliar with a good amount of tech history, I say history, but this is really like 2 decades ago, which is crazy. Tim Peters, right? One of the biggest contributors to the development of Python and getting that accessible to engineers, really contributed to these guiding principles in terms of design and ways to remember how to orient yourself towards a good product, a good, piece of software that you're creating. I'm going to read it out and narrate it just for the effect, but you guys kind of get the grip. Beautiful is better than ugly. Implicit is better than implicit. Simple is better than complex. Flat is better than nested, right? So, kind of like the toggle list stuff. Sparse is better than dense. Think about focal vision. Readability counts. Special cases aren't special enough, I would say, to break the rules. A lot of the things we're doing are built on proper frameworks, right? So although practicality beats purity, errors should never pass silently unless explicitly silenced, right? Some things are just, noise. But in the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess, refuse the temptation to take shortcuts. There should be one, and preferably only one, obvious way to do things right. And if you move towards that, although it may not be obvious at first unless you're Dutch, that's more of the times. Now is better than ever. That still applies. Although never is often better than right now in terms of offloading things. If the implementation is hard to explain, it's a bad idea. If the implementation is easy to explain and I can do it with a bunch of charts, hopefully it's a good idea. And then namespace is one honking great idea. That's just, 2004 internet humor. What this speaks to is really a way of orienting yourself, and why that becomes increasingly important, especially as we navigate the landscape with agentic browsing. You'll notice something. A lot of the marketing that exists is along the same vein, meaning capabilities are not being embedded into pre-sales education properly. Let me take you through that. So notice that a lot of the marketing is speaking towards data analytics, market research, researching on behalf of you, which is not a bad thing, to be honest. I'll show you guys kind of what this looks like. Just sped up a little bit so you can see. But you're able to feed your resume in and it's able to actually go dig research on your behalf. Again, the disclosure in terms of credit usage is very cleverly hidden here. Without the $200 a month plan, which is the minimum for operating this, it's pretty difficult to get these results. Outside of that, you can do manual automations, which there are a number of communities, number of resources out there. I will have some as well within the 30-day program that kind of fit depending on your budget and access matrix, right? Like what you have access to. With that in token, the reason I'm showcasing this is because the next series of demos are all using this tool. And the reason being, like I mentioned, it's accessible. There are a number of other tools that I hinted towards. One that's actually competitive right now is Brainbase, Kafka, very much riddled within the digital employee, marketing side of things, but an enormous capability that I've seen is just this sort of UI that's very Notion-like mixed with ChatGPT and Bolt. Like it's more intuitive, especially from a client-facing standpoint. They have a minimum of $497 per seat, and then they have usage on top of that. So that's an example, right? Like this is commercially available. It's something that's becoming more and more in the hands of people, right? Before April 2025 of this year, this capability was locked behind 10, 20, 30K deal sizes. Salesforce, a number of them were also using this. So there's an enormous opportunity in terms of accessibility here, right? So all that to say, here's how to use this kind of new technology in a way that actually helps you.